Hello everyone, welcome to the Eternal Grind here on Numot Gaming with me, Keith the Trastero Watabayashi, and today is a new season. It's the first day of the new season. It is Sunday, October 1st when I am recording this, so I'm going to show you guys my full road to Masters this month, assuming we get to Masters. Let's see what we're playing with today. No, we're going to do this. This is the deck I played this Saturday at the ETS. I came in 14th, went 4-2, playing against 4 different aggro decks: 2 Stone Scar, 1 Skycraggro, 1 Rakano, 1 Feln Control, and the Ski J playing his Moist Praxis, the Praxis deck splashing Primal. And the decks we lost to were 1 Stone Scar and the Rakano. So we did well against the bigger decks, which was the idea. And we split the aggro mirrors 2-2. This might seem not that interesting for a video just because it's Skycraggro aggro. You've all seen it. But this is my take on it, and I'm going to make a few changes before I start playing and go over those changes, and we'll go from there. So hopefully you get something out of it. If you're an aggro player, you might learn something new. If you're an aggro master, you'll realize how bad I am at aggro, and let me know in the comments. If you want to know what the mind of an aggro player is thinking, this video could be good too. So basically, this is a modification of Manus's deck from way back when Omens was released. I think he really put a lot of time into it and found a lot of the key elements of the deck. Namely, you want 4 Snowcrust Yeti, you want your 4 Oni Ronin, you want your 4 Pyro Knight, Scepter, Morningstar, Outlaw Fury. I mean, that's all pretty straightforward. But the really important units, I think, are Oni Ronin, Yeti, Champion of Fury, and Vadius. And Vadius a little less so. Really, it's all about the Oni Ronin, the Yeti, and the Champion. I think those are the best units in the deck. They're super aggro. They really scale an advantage. And between these 3 units, if you get them all out, it's really hard to lose. Just in the way, and one of the reasons why I like Skycraggro over other aggro decks is just in the way the deck has a synergy with snowballing your starts. So the fact that Oni Ronin can make your Yeti better, which has Aegis, or your Champion better, which has Charge and Overwhelm, if your opponent stumbles even a little bit or is playing a little bit of a slower deck, you can create an unbelievable advantage and just do a lot of damage really quickly. And then with Vadius coming later, again having Aegis and Quick Draw, you can finish the game out with a really, really solid, hard-to-kill unit. Another big thing about Skycraggro that I like a lot is the Aegis that you get on Vadius and Snowcrust Yeti. It might not seem like it comes up that much just because this is a 1-drop and this is kind of a finisher, so you're maybe only playing 1 a game. You almost never use the ultimate, by the way, so don't even worry about that game text. I mean, don't forget it when you get there, but you rarely ever use it. But really, in an aggro deck, when you're trying to kill your opponent before they muster too much of a defense, the fact that they have to find extra ways or extra cards to get rid of your Yeti and your Vadius really goes a long way. So with that, you might be thinking, why were there only 3 Vadius? Well, the original reason was I only had 3, and I decided to fill out the 4-drop slot with Sensari Brigand, but I've really come to like this card as a 1-of. I've stolen so many games with this card. The charge is so important. When you get Warcry on this, when you put a weapon on this, especially like Morningstar, you can really have a huge, huge threat that you can just draw off the top and instantly end the game. So what started out as kind of, trying to make up for my lack of collection has really become, I think, a solid part of this deck in that you have a strong mid-range or just sticky threat with Vadius, and then you also have the ability to top deck another finisher, which is when as you all know with aggro decks, when you finally get to that point where you're trying to finish the game, and maybe you're in a top deck war, you really want that top deck to close out the game. And now that we lost Flame Blast because of the Power Surge being removed, 2 Obliterate, 2 Soulfire Drakes. So this is an interesting split. It was okay throughout the tournament, and it's okay on ladder. Soulfire Drake is really good against like Chalice, just because they don't run Sandstorm Titan, and it's pretty good against Stone Scar. It's okay versus Feln, but it's really bad anything that runs time, or specifically Titan. That's where Obliterate's really good. Obliterate's just kind of good, period. So one of the first changes I'm going to make, and I'm going to start making changes right now, is we're going to go up to 3 Obliterate and 1 Soulfire Drake. Now, the reason for that is I still like having some off-the-top powerful finishers, and Soulfire Drake does have its place, and it is good against certain decks, and it's, a better, stickier card. If both you and your opponents are having tough draws, having the option to either play it out in charge or play it, and let it sit around for a few turns is great, and then Obliterate just as a removal, as a finisher, it's really great. But I think I'd almost always rather have an opportunity to draw Obliterate more than Drake, but I don't want to completely eliminate Drake's elements to the deck, so I'm going to keep one in. The other change I'm going to make, and this is going to be probably somewhat controversial, is I'm going to take out the Pyro Knights, and we're going to add in 4 Waykeepers. So this means the deck's going to be slightly slower, because now we have 4 less 1-drops, but much stronger. Pyro Knight really was the worst unit in my deck all tournament, and although it is really nice when you get the war cries on it, and it's this huge overwhelm unit for 1, or you put a scepter on it, and you have this other way to sneak in damage that can become a major threat later. I don't think I ever have used the ultimate in such a way to win the game, as opposed to either use up my mana in a game I was already losing, or use up my mana in a game I was already winning. The ultimate is so irrelevant. All you really have on Pyro Knight is a 2-1 for 1, which is good, with slight upside. I think we can do a little better in this deck, because this is not Stone Scar. I'm not playing Queen to just come down and blow my opponent out. You can play a little bit longer game, you can take a few extra turns, and Borderlands Waykeeper again has that Aegis, which is so key when you're trying to stick your units and do as much damage as possible before your opponent can remove it. Its ultimate is cheaper than Pyro Knight, and flying is very, very relevant. And it's just great in the aggro mirrors. We went 2-2 versus the aggro decks, and Pyro Knight is definitely the worst unit in the aggro mirror because it blocks so terribly, and its 2 attack isn't that much higher than anything else, so it doesn't really help you win races. Waykeeper can absolutely stall a board against a bunch of 2-1s like Pyro Knight, and then later on, if the game is still going, you can pay 4, get in the air, and start attacking. So I'm going to try this. It might be a disaster. It might make the deck way too slow or way too awkward. Having 12 2-drops and only 8 1-drops could be a big mistake, but we're going to try it, because I think having an extra stickier unit is better than having another 1-drop that maybe will do 2 damage before it dies or before your opponent trades. There's nothing that a Pyro Knight trades with that a Borderlands Waykeeper doesn't trade favorably with. So I think that's what we're gonna try this time. The other card in the deck, real quick, is Levitate. This is my own personal thing. It's not the best card. This easily could be might become another Pyro Knight just to keep the 1-drops in. Might be another Obliterate to go a little bigger. Could be the 4th Scepter. Could be the 4th Morningstar. But one of the reasons why I was able to split against the aggro decks, one of the reasons why I felt really good in the aggro mirror, is that my deck is really low to the ground more so than others, and the fact that I'm able to use cheap mana more efficiently, like being able to play 2 spells on turn 2, 2 spells on turn 3, 3 spells on turn 4. Instead, where other aggro decks might only play 1 spell because they have like a 1-drop and a 4-drop, or like a 1-drop and a 3-drop, as opposed to like 2 1-drops or a 1-drop and a 2-drop, can make a big difference in tempo. And Levitate, it does a lot of things. So first of all, it just cycles a card, always a good thing. If you're in a tough board state, and you need to get to your better cards, it's a great way to just dig through your deck. It can give one of your units flying, which means you can break a board stall by getting in for that extra bit of damage. I mean, when you levitate a Champion of Fury and get in for that 4 damage, it feels really good. The other thing it does is it does interact with your opponent's units. You can knock off an Aegis of a Silverwing Familiar, which is a real troublesome unit for this deck, or another Vadius or a Snowcrest Yeti or something, and then put a Permafrost on it or hit it with a torch. So Levitate is kind of a role player. I like it a lot. And the last thing we're going to change is the mana. So because we got rid of 4 fire 1-drops and added a primal 2-drop, we're going to cut and go like this, 9 and 6. Fire is still our most important power. It gives champion charge. It lets us play Oni Ronin on turn 1. You know, we need it for Sansari, we need it for Shogun Scepter, we need it for Vadius, we need it for Obliterate, we need it for Soulfire. So fire is our most important influence, but I don't want to just have 5 Primal Sigils when I've got 4 more Primal cards. So this is what we're going to try, and let's see how we do. And let's get right into it. And this is my first game of the new month, so we're starting at Gold 3, because I was Masters, like, I don't know, top 400 or some low number, because I took 2 weeks off. This hand's fine. We're going to go ahead and keep it. It's a little all-in, more all-in than I like. This is the kind of hand where if we draw a Champion of Fury, we're in really good shape. So right away, we're going to get value off this Waykeeper. It is very tempting to permafrost this turn 1, since we can play a longer game with Waykeeper. Like, we could permafrost this, play a Waykeeper, and then the next turn play a Scepter, and then play the Oni Ronin after that. But I don't think the Oni Ronin gets any better if we play it later, so we'll go ahead and start racing. Probably trade if our opponent attacks, just because I want to play this next turn, and we're going to protect our life total. And I'm totally fine with that. I mean, our opponent using a rapid shot to get rid of our Oni Ronin when we're going to drop a good blocker is not bad for us. Yeah, now what are you going to do? If they have a second rapid shot, that's also fine. I mean, just being able to eat up those resources with a 1-drop, or with one of our low drops, is very good. Nice. So I kind of want to attack and give our opponent an opportunity to 2-for-1 themselves. But we have 2 permafrosts, so there's no reason to unnecessarily trade. We don't have a lot of units once we start to, if we lose our board, but we do have plenty of ways to deal with their threats. So we will always have time to come back and attack. Now we'll go ahead and do this. And now with our opponent at 5, I think we will do this. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play this too. Our opponent's got 1 card. If it's queen, it's queen. They can double block, then they take 6, and then we play the Morning Star, but we're way ahead in the race at this point. I mean, we are an aggro deck at heart, so you can't just sit back forever. Like, we're not building to a Heart of the Vault or something like that that's really going to help or be great. So this is kind of an interesting choice. I think if our opponent had a torch, they would have played it already on the champion. So if we want, we could play it on this and have 2 units that are overwhelming big, or we just could play it on the champion, which puts out a torch rage. I think we're going to put the Morningstar on the champion, because Stone Scar decks, usually for removal, they run Annihilate and Torch. If we put it on the champion, it can neither be torched nor annihilated, and I think that's more than worth it. They could do that though, and we don't have mana up for a torch. That's not the end of the world though. I mean, they still took 5, and we got rid of the Cabal. So that's brutal. Well, our opponent, uncharacteristic of Stone Scar, had a lot of defense this game. Uh-oh. Too bad. If we had had the 1 extra mana for the torch, we'd be in good shape. I still think that was the right play. Yeah, that'll work. Like, I don't think holding the Morning Star just in case our opponent has a Countess is really a good play. Sure, no problem. We're still ahead in this race. I mean, we can just top deck an Obliterate and win the game. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and get rid of this. That's going to be kind of a blowout. I think that's pretty good. Oh, I should have mentioned that. Another reason to play Skycraggro is Rock Slide, which is so good against other aggro decks. Yep, our opponent's really going for it. Ow. What is that, 10? So, oh, well, sometimes you just draw the obliterate. Sometimes you just draw the obliterate. But I think we were going to win anyway. I think we had stalled enough and disrupted our opponent enough that they had to draw next turn. Because if we attack, they have to block. They have 8 damage. They have to draw exactly queen to kill us. And we could even just not attack, and then they have to draw exactly obliterate. And then they die to their own impending doom. That's a good example of why I like this deck over Stone Scar. Is the Stone Scar matchup is actually pretty decent for you because your interaction is much better than their interaction. I mean, they have Rapid Shot, but Rapid Shot, you know, is best when they're attacking. They have to have a unit and it costs 2, whereas Permafrost and Rock Slide are amazing. When you saw it right there, it was incredible. So that's one. So, you know, that being the case, you know, when you have strong interaction against Stone Scar, you know, you're forcing them to have a pretty good draw. And then when you're playing against mid-range and slower decks, because your deck can be fast, you're forcing them to also have a great draw. This hand is pretty awkward because of the mana, but we are going first, so we're going to keep it. It's a little slow, but on the play, I don't think we really get too much of a better hand. And if we draw a... oh, this is rough. I guess we'll just play this. Nah, this is better. This way, we can play the Snowcrest Yeti, and then play the banner, and then hold up Torch. Hey, it's the Ski J again. What's up, Ski J? Let's go ahead and do this. Play the banner. I don't really want you to get a Warcry, so we'll just get rid of that. I like to trade aggressively with Oni Ronins. That card can just snowball so bad, and if you don't have a good way to deal with whatever they might Warcry, or like, you know, some other way, just get rid of it right away. Because next turn, if I don't draw a power, I'm still only going to have 2. So if I don't play the Torch there, I'm not going to torch it until turn 4, which is not really where we want to be. I think we're just going to go ahead and this is an interesting choice because I could just play the Waykeeper to block, and that gives me multiple targets for the Scepter. But again, you know, I really want to give my opponent Warcries, and this is a pretty strong unit to play whenever in this matchup, and he's missing power. So I think we can afford to play a little more controlling and go ahead and torch this. We're going to be pretty soft to a Champion of Chaos. That is going to be a problem. But I don't like holding powerful removal like Torch when we don't know what we're going to be up against. You know, if he had that, if he had the Champion of Chaos on that turn, that would have been pretty bad. But otherwise, we get a chance to play our Waykeeper, and you know, it's just going to do a lot of work for us. And if I'm going to, you know, pile on a bunch of weapons, this is the unit I'd rather have it on, obviously. See, but now we're in a good enough shape where we can just race. We could play the Overwhelm here. No. We'll do this. We'll play this later. I don't expect him to really block here. I kind of think it makes more sense for him just to take it. And then, in that case, I can drop the Morningstar on this next turn and just have it be ginormous. Some kind of fast spell. More than likely, it's Rapid Shot. Ooh, Pummel's quite good. That changes things a little bit. I guess we'll just go for double Warcry. Pummel's great because not only does it, you know, is a great combat trick, we can also use it to fix our draws, which we are going to do right now. I mean, I don't really care about removing this as much as I care about drawing better cards. Yeah, we'll take that. It's not as obvious as it seems because we can't play it and we don't know when we're going to be able to play it. And there's a real chance that like if we don't draw power the turn after we draw the Drake. Uh-oh. So he got rid of the Aegis. I'm just gonna guess that's a removal spell, so we'll just take this damage. Oh, I guess not. Do I think that's an Annihilate? No, nothing happened. So I'm gonna put, now that they're both just as soft to Aegis, I'm gonna put them both out of range here. So this is 7. I guess we die to a queen. If we attack with both, I think if he had queen, he would have played it last turn. No, maybe not. Maybe he expects me to hold back. 12. Okay, we're gonna attack with her. So if we draw a power, and this will be lethal with this and this. Because if we can attack for 8, and that means we have lethal on board, but then we're dead to a queen. Yeah, we're dead to a queen, and that's it. Do I think they have it? I don't know if there's much advantage to holding back. We take 5, 3. Okay, we're gonna. Do I really want to force him to have it? I'm gonna force him to have it. I think holding back is bad because then if we do that and he holds back to block, it really forces us to top deck. This way, it forces them to top deck. And if he already has the queen, we can't really play around it very well anyway, because we're gonna lose. There's a good chance we lose the Oni Ronin in our block. Sure. So this is a little bit better for us because now we can just draw a 5th power and play the Soulfire Drake. But this is why it wasn't obvious keeping the Soulfire Drake on top, because it basically means we skip a draw of playing anything, and I'm not feeling that. So I like to be a little more proactive than that. But the fact that he's thinking about attacking is really good for us. That means that we can freely attack with our Infuser. Oh, we still don't have 5 mana here. We have to hold back now. Oh, well, he got there first. Yep, he got the 5 before us. That's alright. I beat him pretty bad in the tournament, so I guess we'll just call it even. But that was the thing, not obvious to leave the Drake on top. So interesting, we did get punished by the champion, but if he was attacking with the outlaw, we can't really block the outlaw anyway, and let's just pretend that Warcry was hit on the champion. If our opponent had done that, like if he hit the Warcry on the champion, and then he plays the champion with 4 health or more, then we can't torch it anyway, and we're still end up torching the Rakano outlaw, in which we should have done in the first place. So that's why I like to be aggressive with the removal. And when you're Skycragging, you don't have Permafrost. Your removal is damage based. You don't have Annihilate. You don't have Death Strike. Vanquish. So you really need to pay attention to when your removal is going to be its most efficient. And generally speaking, because we want the games to go short, it's as soon as it's good, it's good. And that game was still close. I mean, we still were 1 power away from winning that game. Even though we aggressively used our torch, and you could argue that I was punished for it because he played the champion and we had no answer. Even though that did happen, even though it was like a worst case scenario, we still were not out of that game. Well, this draw is very slow, but we're playing against Argenport, which is kind of a slow deck. Argenport hits really hard, but it's very slow. Like, it doesn't have a lot of charge. You can kind of see the threats as they happen. You have time to react to them. Bart has Aegis and is flying, so it might not matter if you have if you can react to it, because maybe you won't find the answer anyway. We're going to go ahead and play the pummel here. This is Argenport. It's unlikely that our opponent's ever going to block us because Argenport blocks really badly. So better to get the damage in now while you can and filter your draw. And the fact that we know we have a champion coming as opposed to like a power is really good. Yeah, that's too bad. So maybe this is a armory, but they got a really bad draw. So we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. We're just going to go ahead and diversify. We're very weak to a harsh rule here, but we are weak to a harsh rule at all times. So don't even bother playing around it unless you really, really can. That's an interesting choice. I don't think I would have done it that way. I think I would have got rid of the overwhelm. I mean, you have to block here if you're going to silence him. So now we have a lot of outs, and we have plenty of mana. Our opponent's not out of this either. I mean, I would never underestimate an armory deck, or a control deck to not inch away out of range. And sadly for us, we're a little bit flooded this game. But this is a good example of why it's better to have Obliterate than Soulfire Drake, because Obliterate would be a much better top deck. That is not a good one, though. This might be slipping away here. Oh, that's not a big deal. Our opponent is really surviving on one life here. This looks like Argenport control. Good. We got there. We got there. Oh, no. Oh, I was like, were we going to run into a protect? That would have been pretty bad. All right, we're getting there. We're getting there. That was an interesting deck. I guess it was just Argenport control? Yeah, that's a good matchup for us. Hey, it's the Ski J again. Well, we know what we're playing against. And this draw ain't going to do it. Even though on the draw, we have some of our best cards, Oni Ronin, Snow Crush, and Rock Slide. One power hand that is not fire is not keepable. So this hand's mud. On the draw, this hand's about as good as it gets, actually. Have we met? I think we have. Okay, this game we're going to try a little bit different. We're going to hold the torch, and we're going to play this on 2 and see what happens. Just to do a different play style for the video. But normally I would torch this. Looks like we got a rapid shot here. Or a torch. Could be a torch. Shogun Scepter is good. So right now we're looking for extra copies of Waykeeper, Rock Slide, other torches. Yeah, it looks like we got one. Maybe we get a 2-for-1 here with torch. Oh no, we're tapped out. I'm too busy talking. Oh well. Not the end of the world. We got Evadius coming down. But that was definitely a little sloppy. We'll just take it. Ooh, another Vadius. I like that. But probably not as much as just doing this. So he's going to get a lot of war cries here. I mean, eventually we're going to have to deal with that rapid shot, so I guess all we did was lose a 2-drop off it. Not the end of the world. Let's get rid of you. And we're going to chump. We're not going to win the race if we take all that damage, so might as well chump. Yeah, that's not bad. No, I'm not going to pummel. 3, 6, 11. Yeah, we got a lot of damage here. Ooh, that's a big champion. But it's just not gonna matter. 3, 4, 5 seems unlikely. And this is great. We get to use Pummel to take a look. That was a very timely permafrost. Let's go ahead and get in for 5. That one we will take. So hopefully we don't run into an Annihilate, because that would be pretty bad. But this board's pretty strong. Okay, okay, I can live with that. Oh, that's good for us. Okay, there could be an Annihilate. Nope. Looks like we win. This time we have the Drake. Pretty funny. The exact same win con. So maybe that was the better way to play it. Didn't really matter though, since we made that misplay with the Waykeeper. I think we do okay, even if we don't draw the permafrost. We might lose, but it's really hard for him to block because of the pummel. So if he tries to block with the pummel, if he tries to block with the champion, all of our units have at least 3 attack and quick draw, and we play the pummel, we get rid of the champion. And then, even then, if he takes all the damage, we're going to play the Drake next turn. And he had 7, 10, 12. And if he had a torch, I think he would have played a torch. This hand going first is fine. This is an example of where Levitate's a good thing to have in your deck, because we can either sneak in a Warcry if our opponent has a blocker, and we get to draw a card and look for mana. Oh no, not the Wasp. Oh, that's not a big deal. I can live with that. Permafrost, that's not very good. I mean, Permafrost is great, but it's not what we need right now. But we don't really have much to do with 3 mana, since we have something to do on 2. I will say one thing so far. I have not missed Pyro Knight. I don't know that Borderlands Waykeeper has been like outstanding, but it's had more of an impact than Pyro Knight would have had every single time. Oh yes. Oh yes. Get torched. And then now we're going to Levitate because I really want to find mana. It's possible the Levitates could be better just as sigils, because right now I'm running 25. Oh man, our opponent's dirtling so hard. Where's our mana? Yeah, that could be a thing. Maybe we want more mana in this deck. I could see going to like to 26. I mean, so far it hasn't been too much of a problem, because even though we're not doing the most powerful things we could be doing right now, we're still doing things, you know? Let's see, is there any reason to attack for damage here? Probably not. What are we going to do next turn? Next turn I'm going to play the Brigand. Sandstorm Titan is very good against us. So we can attack, we can do 3 damage, and get 2 Warcries. That seems pretty good. We need those Warcries really badly. Like, right now, we're probably going to have to play Vadius and throw weapons on him and hope that's good enough. Which it might not be against the Titan when we miss some mana. If we had hit the 3rd mana and were able to get in with some of these units, it would have been much different. Uh-oh. obliterate. Eh, we'll just play a Vadius. Hopefully not another Carnosaur. If Vadius lives and we get a chance to go Scepter and like Permafrost, that'd be great. A lot of ifs though, a lot of ifs. Sure. But you know, when we're playing an aggro deck, and sometimes they just get there. We probably would have won if we hit our mana a little bit earlier, but that did not happen. Yeah, well, this is a good example. This is a good case for these should just be power. Is there anything we can do to not die? We can chump. Well, we're definitely going to permafrost. That's happening no matter what. So I guess we'll levitate and draw and look for mana. Yeah, okay, well, at least we got there. Take 10, we chump. Is there any way we can win is the question. I don't think so. Double Titan's really bad. Like, the best thing we can do is get the 5 power next turn and shoot one. But then we have to chump block twice, because we're taking 5 next turn and going to 3. I guess what we can do is we can chump, and then we play Scepter, and then we can chump one with the 2/1 Oni and trade, because this will be a 6/4, and then obliterate the other one and somehow still be alive at that point to win the game. It's not great, but it's the best line we have. If our opponent has literally nothing, but that seems highly unlikely, but that was our only chance. Yeah, that was just kind of a mana screw. But this deck is running 25 power with no way to search. So, you know, that's going to happen. It's possible that this deck doesn't want the levitates and it wants power instead, because that tends to be what I look for a lot with the deck. But I'm not quite giving up on levitate yet, just because it's another surprise factor in stalled board states. And it's something cheap to do with your mana, which can be relevant. Although in that particular game, it would have been better just to have mana. Ooh, I almost have a Champion of Fury draw. That's one of my main draws to this deck. Is I love being able to Champion of Fury people on turn 2. That was actually a mistake, though. I should have played one of my regular power, because had I drawn a banner, that would have been like really bad, because then I would have had depleted power. We're just going to go ahead and play this and make it a fire to make sure we have 3 fire for our 1 copy of Drake, which we keep drawing, which is I'm fine with. And also fire is our charge option, so that's great. This card is so hard to deal with. It's like amazing. And right as I say that, we get the permafrost. Still. This is a game where we kind of do miss the Pyro Knight, but we're playing against Shadow, so, I mean, Vara's favor is all over the place. That's another reason why Pyro Knight is not as good as Borderlands Waykeeper, especially, well, against Stone Scar, especially because you don't want to give them too many Vara's favor targets. So normally, I am tempted to go double pummel here, just to kind of fix my draws and get in for a bunch of damage, but because we have 2 2-drops, okay. This is pretty soft to a Lightning Storm, but there's only so much we can do about that. Alright, so it's this deck. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's swing, and let's get in the damage while we can. That we'll put on the bottom. We don't need more pummels. We need the whatever is getting the war cry. That's what we need. Man, our opponent was lucky they had the permafrost. They'd probably be dead. That's a big Yeti. We're gonna go ahead and do it again. This way we can dig for a burn spell, which I'll take. So as long as we don't run into lifesteal, I think we'll be fine. Like, our opponent's going to play... Oh, my God. Not only was it lifesteal, but it was the ultimate. So our opponent goes to 12, and we hit them for 9. Oh, that's so bad. I said exactly I don't want to run into lifesteal. What did I just say? So we have 5, 6, so probably block here, and then we can torch it. That's okay. It's not great. It goes to 12, takes 6, go to 6. I just don't think we have a better option. Or they could block one of our 2-drops and take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I guess we'll attack with everything. Because if they don't block the Yeti, we have lethal. Because you go to 12, they take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. If they block the Yeti, we can kill this. It's not great, but we can absolutely not let this thing live and let our opponent have a second blocker with a 4 health lifesteal out. Just can't do it. Nah, whatever. That was about as good as it could have been for our opponent. Not to mention if it didn't get the +1/+1. Oh man, that's just gross. Double Harbinger is pretty bad for this deck. 3 Harbingers. Okay, well, this game was not meant to be. Our opponent really just has it all, and they even had the permafrost. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, no one wants to take 12. That was probably our best top deck, and it's not going to be good enough. I think if our opponent has Echo something, so if they have another blocker, we can't win. I think this might do it. Oh yes, I think we actually stole this game, or not. Ah, oh, really? It's so funny. I said we exactly did not run into lifesteal, and we ran into nothing but lifesteal units. Our opponent literally played 4 lifesteal units, 3 of which were Harbingers. But hey, we fought through most of them, so, you know, that's not nothing. Torch is fine. Wow. Well, this is about as resilient as we could be. I can't believe we actually fought through all of those. Oh my god, everything's getting lifesteal. I said I don't want to fight against lifesteal. I guess we could draw Soulfire Drake. Soulfire Drake is pretty good. This is a good example of why one Sensari Brigade or one Sensari Brigand can do a lot of work. Oh wow. What a comeback. Whew. That was a great game. And I'm going to give myself some credit there because we won because of my random Brigand, which got a lot of Warcry. That was our best draw. And to be fair, our opponent also got very lucky. I don't think they could have had a better series of units at that point, and they still lost. I mean, our opponent didn't take a turn off. Like, they didn't start missing drops until they'd gone Harbinger, 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 double Iron. And we still won. I mean, we did rip the Brigand, which was our best top deck, and then we drew Obliterate, which was our best top deck. But this is an aggro burn deck. So, you know, if we had drawn more lower curve, we would have had a wider board. But that was pretty insane. That was a great game. For us, anyway. Our opponent's probably slightly mad and wondering what happened. They even had a turn 2 permafrost on the champion. Man. Well. It's exactly for situations like that that the one Brigand is in the deck. Because it's another out to random things, which is exactly what happened. Pretty standard opening so far this game. Always bolt the Initiate. You really don't want to trade Oni Ronins for Initiate if you don't have to. I mean, it's fine to do it when you have no better play, but in that kind of situation, that if your opponent needs the Initiate to ramp, and they also need it to block so they don't take damage, so they can get to their ramp creatures, removing it and then attacking for damage and the Warcry is such a huge swing in your favor. It's always what you want to do. Even if they might be a 3 health unit later, or in this matchup, we could run into a Scorpion Wasp or like a Desert Marshal, which we almost certainly will, at least the Desert Marshal part. So much of games with aggro are decided in the first like 3-4 turns. And a lot of people would say those 3-4 turns, it's all about draw, but it's really not. Not to say that draw is not important, and of course, if the draw doesn't work out, you can't do anything, and if your draw is really good, there's not much your opponent can do. But you have a lot of choices to make in the first few turns that are really going to dictate if you're set up to win or not later on in the game. And right now, our opponent is either AFK or they're missing power, and so killing the Initiate was really good. And had we traded, we would have given our opponent 4 more life, and we'd have 2 less Warcries, which would also be really bad for us, because we are kind of starting to run out of gas here. Ooh, Enforcer. That's not even a big deal, because almost certainly they're just going to block the 4-2, and I'm happy to trade that off. We got plenty of value. And our opponent's still a turn away from Harsh Rule. And we have the Obliterate, so we're getting close. It's going to be close. Oh, that's not so bad. I can live with these. And Levitate gets in there. So what do we want to levitate? I guess we'll levitate you. Another Obliterate. Yeah, well. Maybe that should just be power. I mean, this isn't horrible because our opponent can't really block. I mean, can't really attack, so we can do a lot of damage. So we are going to attack here. We get in for 2. Unless our opponent has something, but if they have something, they have something. Our opponent might be wary, thinking about stuff like Pummel, which they should be. So I guess this is just control. This isn't Chalice. This might be Manus's deck that's gonna run the Yeti Scout Party, which is about to happen. Vadius. Let's go ahead and attack. I imagine we'll see a chump block. Yeah. So if our opponent and if we hadn't killed the Initiate and they were at 6 mana, they could do things like Ultimate Kothon. They could play Yeti Scout Party. That ought to be lethal. What fast spells could we run into here? We could run into a Desert Marshal. I think that's the only thing. So we're going to put it here. This does give our opponent a chance to chump the Rakano and not die. So no Desert Marshal. But now, we can attack through pretty much anything. Yay! It might have been a mistake not to just play that on our Rakano Outlaw because that would have been a lethal attack. But again, what's the one thing we can lose to there? the one thing we can lose to is Desert Marshal. Because if our opponent has Desert Marshal and they silence the Outlaw, they can double chump or just chump one, and then we lose our Overwhelm. And if they play Yeti Scout Party, we're really behind, and then we have to top deck the power to get the Obliterate damage in. And that's something to think about. When you're playing aggro and you're playing in general, is what can I lose to, and one big thing in Eternal, it's not just a matter of what do I not lose to, it's a matter of how do I prevent myself from depending on the top of my deck to win the game. This hand's interesting. On the play, it's fine. If I did not have the Pummel, I would not keep it because I only have one threat. But Pummel gives me a way to trade or get damage in and filter my draws, and I have decent enough mana that I can play most things. So we're gonna keep it. If I was going second, and if I or I didn't have Pummel, I would not keep this hand. But again, so many players in Eternal, and I'm like this too. And I try my best not to be. Is you constantly find yourself in a situation where you're in a corner and you absolutely have to top deck to win. And with your deck being so big in Eternal, that's like the worst place to be in. You only want to be in that situation when you've exhausted all options or it's been a long, grindy game, and that's where both players are at. So we're going to attack. Well, let's see. If we attack, we trade. Well, I guess we can Pummel, kill one, look at the top. Nah, this is better next turn. We're going to play this. We're going to play this to block. And then next turn on 3, we can play all 3 of these spells if we need to. That's annoying. I almost want to permafrost that, actually. Almost. This could be Callous. In fact, it almost certainly is Callous. I'll take that. So if our opponent plays Callous to 4/4, so we can use Torch, yeah, that's fine. Quarry, huh? Another Dark Wisp. So we're gonna play a Yeti. One thing when you play against Callous is if they don't have a board, then their main card does nothing. So there is a real benefit to torching their small units. I guess Yeti only costs 1, so we can go ahead and do this. Like, trading with our opponent is not bad because if they can't, the smallest, you want the smallest board as possible when they play a Callous. Do I care about keeping a Yeti alive? Probably not. Not a Yeti. I'm sorry. An Oni Ronin. His hand's a little slow. I'd like to draw some of our bigger threats. Of course, we couldn't even play them anyway. Shadowlands Guide. Sure. Well, our opponent sure is drawing the cards. And a Grenadine. Okay. That's pretty good. Yeah, oh man. I kind of want to use this and use Torch to kind of get some really good advantage here, but I guess we can just attack and hold up Torch and stick with that. The problem is that Permafrost really isn't doing much in this match since our opponent's just going to play small units and then play a Callous. But there might be like an impending doom in these decks. I don't really know what the bigger units are if they have any. Maybe there's a Scrap Tank. And if I Permafrost this, because if he tries to block this with the Shadowlands Guide, we can just Torch and that's good anyway. Yeah, I guess this is fine. Yeah, well, no, because almost certainly he wants to use this to block. So we'll just do this. I'll save the Torch for something else. Because he can't get this, there's no way to get this back with another Shadowlands Guide. So I kind of imagine that, yeah, I wish I'd held up Torch. That this is a good unit for them to just kind of throw away and block and get a 2-for-1 because you get the unit back and you trade. So, kind of a bummer, but oh well. This isn't bad because if they go for the Callus now, they'll probably trade with the Fury and it'll be, what, a 6? So 5, 6, and then we can keep attacking or we can just get rid of it. Combust. It's not very nice. Another torch. Yeah, sure. What's the fast spell? Another quarry? I'm not loving this. This is not great. Feels bad, but we don't have much of a play. Thing is, against a Callus deck, it's you do want to trade aggressively because you really want them to force. You want to force them to have the units and to have the Callus. We're not in good shape because he's drawn a lot more cards and that's obviously really bad. Probably can't beat that since we're stuck on mana again. At least we're 5-2 in our record. But that's going to be really bad. This card has been a real problem today. Oh man, yeah, we are so done. Wow, I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty impressive. I mean, our opponent did draw pretty well this game, but they also drew what, 7 more cards than us, so that's why it feels like they drew better. We'll just hold back. We're not out of this game yet. If we start drawing some mana and some of our bigger units, and our opponent runs out of steam, that'll be something. It's not likely, I mean, they have a lot of... Oh my god, they have so much to get back with Memory Dredger. That's so bad. Feels bad, man. Yeah, I just don't think we can win from this situation. That's impressive, though. That's an impressive setup for our opponent. Still stuck in gold 3. Whew, man. These games. That was fun, though. Seeing something different. The combust on the Champion of Fury was pretty bad because Overwhelm. Is this the guy we just played? Oh no, I'm not even paying attention. Yeah, this hand's fine. We're going second, so it's not great, but we have Torch or Oni Ronin, and then we have Champion on 2. It's fine. I will say one other thing about having Levitate instead of the power. It does make it a little more difficult to keep low power hands, which is another consideration going forward with this deck. So even though I have very much enjoyed my my Levitates, it might be time for them to come out. So we have 2 fire, and we can get to 2 banners, or 2 of each for our Fury. So I guess we'll go ahead and play a Fire Sigil, and I'm going to hold up Torch. Oh, do I really want to Torch that? What do I think about this? If I play the Oni Ronin this turn, because I need this to be primal, assuming we don't draw another primal source, so I can give this guy the full 4-2. If I play the Oni Ronin, then I can play Champion on 2. No, that's not very good. I think what we do is we hold up Torch. Well, no. I think we play the Oni Ronin, and then next turn we can attack, and we can do Pummel and Torch. Yeah, I think that's better. And then we can play this on 3. And then if we haven't used Pummel or Torch by then, we can go this plus Pummel or Torch on 3. Argenport. Okay. So our opponent's got a fast spell. Not Annihilate. Okay, so we drew that, so we don't have to worry about this so much. So we'll go ahead... Well, I guess I can try to get to 3 fire. Then I have to make this a fire. Yeah, I don't want to do that. So let's do that, and let's attack. And then we are going to pummel, because I want to see more cards. Yeah, Yeti's fine. And then we're going to torch this and swing it. And then next turn we can go Sigil, Yeti, and Yeti. And go from there and see what happens. It might not be enough. We are a little bit behind in the race. And you never know when, like, a Faucian's coming out or something to just ruin your day. You know, so there's that too. I don't really just want him to block. I guess I don't really care if he blocks. He takes the 2, and then we have this. It might be better just to attack and then play Vadius and see if our opponent goes deep next turn, and then we play these. That might be better. Yeah, let's do that. We'll hold on to these. I mean, this is a race situation, so I really don't want our opponent to be able to get rid of our Champion of Fury that easily, because it's so important. And yeah, that would have been just a blowout. I'm kind of surprised they did use the Finest Hour there. I would imagine they would have used it to swing in for damage. I mean, he's not so far ahead that just like throwing away that kind of damage is really good. Let's see. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go to 10. If we have no blockers, that's pretty bad. Let's go ahead and do this. If we trade off for another Finest Hour, I can live with it. I mean, that's damage we're not taking. Okay. What is this one? It must be a Protect. So our opponent has a Protect. So Burn is not good. But that's fine. We don't have any in our hand right now, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay, now we're going to do it. Yeah, this guy doesn't block very well. We're going to run into, like... No. That was not a very good block from our opponent. Something seems up. Or maybe they just don't know what to do. Sure. I guess a Vanquish is coming? No? I don't understand. That was a very strange move from our opponent. Hey, we're almost at gold too. Alright, last game. Let's see if we can get there. We're at 96, we're at 6 and 3. So there you go. If you want to get to, I guess the minimum you need to go from gold 3 to gold 2 is 7 and 3 in 10 games. I have no idea. I have no idea how that ranking system works exactly. I just know it's good to win. Hey, there's our favorite friend, Levitate. We're going first. We have a 1-drop, we have a 2-drop, and we have stuff to do, so we're keeping it. And really, almost any time you get to play Seed of Fury on turn 1, it's pretty good. Again, I have not missed the Pyronite. I do think this, at least one of these, should probably go out for a Sigil, because I think we would have won at least one of our games if that was the case, so I think I might do that. So it looks like we're playing against Stone Scar again, where Borderlands Waykeeper is an all-star. Let's go ahead and get in for some damage. And try to draw something. That's pretty good. What are you going to do? There are no bad outcomes for us in this situation. See, there you go. Levitate. Awesome. Although making sure we get the 5 mana would also be good at this point. So, you know, there's that too. Let's just go ahead and make you fly. And then next turn we'll make you really big or start swinging. We're quite ahead in the damage race here, so I'm not too worried. So what do we have? Torch or Rapid Shot? Ooh, Impending Doom. Well, I kind of like that 5th mana now. Uh-oh. Well, this is still pretty good. I mean, we're taking some damage too. But our opponent's going to go to 9, and if they attack with the Doom and we get to 5, we obliterate them. Seems good. And Queen's not even terrible because we can chump the Queen with this. Well, that's a good obliterate target. Torch. Torch isn't bad either. 5, 6, 7. No, it's just attack. Yeah, I think we have a rapid shot situation here. So we have to torch this now. Because for this to kill us, he has to use all his mana, which means he can't use rapid shot. So we have to go ahead and get rid of that. This will kill us with any kind of pump. Uh-oh. It is possible we might have wanted to hold back for obliterate. I might not have been thinking about that too much, but you just can't play around everything. I'm sorry, but I really do believe in that. Aww. Well, that's a sad way to go out. Because if our, I guess that was a mistake. So we're gonna end this game on a mistake. Because I guess if I think that turn through a little more and think about obliterate as one of the cards we can lose to, because then we can just hold back and block, right, and torch that. Our opponent only has one legitimate attack. Because we could have attacked with our Snow Crust and put him down to 7. Then I guess if we have the obliterate, yeah, because then he takes 1 for. Then if we draw the power, our opponent takes 1 and goes to 6, and then we obliterate. So I guess that was a mistake. Again, that's playing around everything. Like, let's say we do that, and then our opponent drops Queen. We have to chump block, and then if we don't draw the obliterate, we don't have enough damage anyway. I guess you could look at it as if we're looking into situations where either our opponent can't kill us, and then our opponent like has to get through our Waykeeper, and until they get through the Waykeeper, they can't win the game, giving us more draws to get to obliterate while they take damage from the impending doom. So if we look at the game from that angle, then it's good not to attack, and that really forces our opponent to have a couple answers for the Aegis unit. The other way is the way we did it, which is, we play around 1, 2, and 3, which was in that situation Rapid Shot and Bandit Queen, but then we lose to Obliterate. If we play against Obliterate, I think we still lose to Rapid Shot because we just torched the guy. Yeah, I guess that was a mistake. So I guess we should have won that game. So even though we're going to finish with a record of 6-4, we really should be 7-3 if we play perfectly. But hey, you can't. I'm not a perfect player. I'm only in gold 3. So I apologize for that mistake. But I get so distracted by the fast spells. And that's one of the great things about this game, though, is, which I guess can be frustrating. Like, you could look at it as that's a really frustrating way to lose a game because, if you really sat and thought it through, you could find the right line of play that gives you the least chance to win, and it's really frustrating. You have to think of all these different things because, it could be anything. But that's also a great gift of the game, is how complex the decisions can be and how it can feel like, oh, of course they have the obliterate, so of course we lose. Well, we're in a situation where we could actually play around the biggest threats, and if we make the right decision, we win that game. And that's a great thing to have, is when you have really challenging decisions and when you can get it wrong. Like, if it's always really difficult to make a bad decision, then the game's not very good, right? Or the games aren't very interesting. So even though we lost because of a mistake, at least we learned something. So next time we'll focus on that. Speaking of learning something, let's do a little closing deck tech here before we end this video, since we're getting a little bit over the hour time. I think this deck is great. It technically went 7-3. Me, the player, went 6-4. But I like the way the deck was working. I really did like the Waykeeper. It was really, really good. It was just an excellent blocker, a good tempo play. I never felt like I was losing anything by not having the Power Knight in the deck. Um, Speaking of that, Power Knight, one of the reasons is because, like I said, I don't really do the ultimate and pay 6 because I'm only playing 25 power. However, as was talked about in the video, the Levitate was probably our worst card all video long. Even though I really enjoy the play of this card, I don't think we're going to use it going forward. So one thing I think I'll do right away is change this to a power. And probably take this out for either a 4th Vadius or maybe a 4th Scepter. Not sure. But I do think this is the right change for sure. And we'll take this out. And we have one flex spot. So go ahead and leave in the comments what you think that card should be. Also comment if you think I should just delete this deck because it didn't go 10-0. And anything else you have to say, I really do want to hear. Thank you for tuning in for this week of the Eternal Grind. I'll be doing these every week. I'm showing you my progress through the month, and we'll be trying different decks every week. If you have a strong deck or strategy you want to see, please request it. I will say though that my favorite factions are Time, Fire, and Primal. I really like Praxis, and anything along those lines, I'm excited to play. So Shadow's my least favorite. So if you want to see strong Shadow strategies, you might not have come to the right place. But I'm open-minded. Anyway, thank you again for watching. This has been me, Keith, the Trastero Watabayashi. Please check out my content, lots of other content on numotgaming.com. And please follow me at Twitter at Keith Watabayash. Why is it Keith Watabayash instead of Keith Watabayashi? It's because when I signed up for it, I was very bad at Twitter. And now I'm slightly less bad. So I'm posting the link. Anyway, thank you all again, and I will see you on the ladder.